You have more than likely heard the advice that, through your content and everything else, you should be giving value. There is, however, a downside to that. And I would suggest that part of it is because people don't really understand what value actually is and why it doesn't automatically lead to client inquiries or sales. Let me fix that for you in this short video. So I've called this the giving value trap, why most coaches and experts stay stuck. So I've got a couple of slides. Let's jump into this. So if you've ever done this, I've seen a lot of this, obviously, because I was in the seminar world for a couple of decades. So I saw a lot of people doing talks live where they would speak, they would share some tremendous value. The audience would applaud wildly and say, that was fantastic, that was great, your energy was great. But of course, it didn't necessarily result in a single inquiry or a single sale for the speaker. So obviously how they were going about it wasn't really doing them any favors. But if you've ever done this, if you've ever delivered a webinar, if you've ever given a talk, whether it's something as simple as at your local chamber of commerce or a BNI, or even to an audience through promoters and so on, if you've ever done a podcast interview, if you've ever put together a video to share some of your content and share some of your value, or if you've ever just gone and done a live, whether it's on Facebook or LinkedIn, and you've done this, and yes, you may have got engagement on it. I mean, those are two things, isn't they? Either you get zero engagement on it anyway, which is not very good, or you get great engagement, comments, likes, support, all of that kind of thing, but still crickets when it comes to actually generating inquiries and creating sales. So you get the applause, but you don't get anything else. And of course, you can't bank applause, you can't bank the likes, you can't bank the engagement. So why is that happening? Well, I would say that if you are just giving value, and I might suggest you even write this down actually because it's worth remembering, all you are doing is you are giving somebody all the dopamine of learning something new with zero urgency to actually take any action. So humans love novelty. They love new. So if you're sharing something that nobody's seen before or heard before, which is why curiosity headlines tend to work really well, people want that idea of, oh, I've not seen this. Oh, this could be something different. This could be something new. This could solve my problem for me. But then you give them something new and they go, wow, that was tremendous. But they don't then reach out to you and say, can you help me implement it? That's part of the problem. They've got the hit from it, but you're not giving them any urgency. So what is the fix? 3 stages to this, real quick. First of all, whenever you do any content, especially if you're doing video or you're doing a presentation, which is live, you got to pre-frame it. So the easiest part of this is just to say, look, I'm going to share something with you. It's going to fix this, going to do this, but this is part of a bigger transformational process. Like in the beginning, I was so blunt when I was doing pitch presentations. I would literally be completely upfront and as blunt as saying, look, we've got 90 minutes together. Within that 90 minutes, I cannot share everything I absolutely want to share with you and everything that I know about whatever the topic is. And so at the end of this, I'm going to make you an offer so that we can continue this journey. So I was blunt about it. I pre-framed the whole thing. People knew in advance that this was only part of the process, but they were going to get value from it in itself. I said, like, you're going to walk away with things that you can absolutely use, and I'm going to make an offer at the end. The second part is you've got to give people an aha moment. So you've got to, this is what's called setting a problem frame. You've got to highlight why what they're currently doing or how they're currently thinking is flawed. Now, you got to do that, of course, without making them sound silly or blaming them, which is why I get the whole thing about it's not your fault. But you're not supposed to actually say it's not your fault. You're supposed to imply it. And the best way to do that is to give people an aha moment, a realization. So here's why what you've been doing isn't working. You've missed something. Like I used to use the frame a lot, or my premise, the way I used to approach it was to think about you don't know what you don't know because nobody's made you aware of it. So I'm going to make you aware of it. And then the final part then is you want to do a soft call to action. So this is where you basically say, look, we've done this. I've given you a realization. Like just in here, I'm saying the reason that you don't just give value, you don't just teach. Like I've seen so many webinars and so many presentations where people have done a fantastic job of teaching, where they've gone and spent time turning all their knowledge into an easy to digest model, which is fantastic. I'm all for creating a model, especially when it's unique. It helps stack the advantages. However, they teach, they share, they get to the end, and they might even lead into an offer because they believe that's what they're supposed to do, but they still get crickets. And why? I've already highlighted it, because you're giving people all the dopamine so they feel they're learning something new, which fulfills their need for growth and gives them excitement and motivation and inspiration in the moment, but it doesn't lead to lasting change. It doesn't lead to lasting behavior change, which is really what you're after. All your content should be driving behavior change so that people reach out to you. So I'm saying to you, the flaw in the thinking behind just giving value, just teaching, is that you give people that dopamine hit, which they'll appreciate, they'll love you for that, but you don't give them any real reason to actually say, look, actually, I need you to help me implement this. And that's what you want. So as I've said, you got to like start by giving them the process, then give them the realization, which is example of what I've just shared with you. And then of course, you finish it by then saying, okay, look, here's a soft call to action. And it could be as simple as, look, if you want to go deeper on this, if you want to take this further, then, I'm working with a few coaches over the next, whatever it might be, 10 days, 20 days, 30 days, next 3 months, next year, then let's chat. It's very simple. That's not even hard sell by any measure or stretch of the imagination. It's like real soft call to action. Like I've done presentations where, particularly on webinars, especially, where my webinar has kind of given them a model. I've broken things down. I've shared some tremendous value. I will also throw this in as well. This might be a little bit overwhelming. Maybe I should do a separate video on this. But typically when you're sharing value, then you're sharing key elements, usually no more than 3, because it's easy to remember 3. And within each, you're sharing the why and the what, but not necessarily the how you implement it. That's how you start to kind of raise the emotional tension of somebody wanting your help to implement it. Because if they walk away thinking this is great and I don't need you, then you've done them a disservice and you've done them a disservice, because the chance of them actually implementing it are slim to none. The chance of them actually taking action and doing it right, pretty much none. So that's why they're going to need your help. That's why you're the expert. That's why you're the coach. That's why you're the speaker. That's why you're there. So typically on webinars, I've often done where I get to the end and I'll lead into saying, okay, look, if you've enjoyed this or if you've got something from it, would you like to see this working in your business? And I say, look, here's what we're going to do. And then I do a real soft sell around setting up a call, having a chat. And obviously in that chat, I map out and I find out by asking questions. I do a diagnosis. I find out what's missing. Then I share, okay, look, here's the key elements of what you're going to need to do to solve this. Here's the kind of the ingredients, if you like. And then I'll say, look, do you want my help with this? And that's a real soft close, a real soft sell. But here at this point, all you're basically saying is, let's chat, DM me, reach out. And you can do this all in one piece of content. You can do this by stacking previous pieces of content where you're effectively pre-selling with no call to action. And then you do a second post where you put in the specific call to action about DM me or put breakfast in the comments or whatever it might be, which is called it's called a ladder post effect. So it's like typically 2 posts. So you finish with, okay, look, if you want to go deeper, if you want to implement this, if you want my help, you'd like me to diagnose exactly what's going wrong or take a look at your content or do an audit of your content. That's another way of approaching it. I can do an audit of your content and show you where you're going wrong specifically, because although you might think you've got this, the reality is people usually need a little bit more guidance to really nail it in and hammer it in and have that real aha moment about it. So let's chat. So that would be a simple, soft call to action. All right, so I'll finish because I practice what I preach. But if you do want to go deeper, then obviously let's talk. And I will see you in the next video.